Hello there everyone, Hazmy here with yet another Pathfinder video, and this one will be also a video for beginners, but maybe it might help veteran and less new players as well for the game. And in this video we're going to be talking about feats that are generally recommended to build your characters around, or just feats that are generally useful to the game and to most characters. Keep in mind that these are not all the good feats and the best feats in the game. These are just feats that are generally useful no matter what character you play. And it's just a really good and concise list of feats that you can always use on characters, and they're going to help you build them to be at least minimally useful in any party and any circumstance. So with that said, let's get into it and let's see these feats, shall we? I will be putting these feats into different groups, and first we're going to be talking about ranged ranged feats and feats for ranged characters. The first one is, of course, the first one in the list as well, which is point blank shot. This is a feat for bow users, ranged users, or even ranged touch attack users. What this feat does is you get a +1 bonus in attack and damage rolls with ranged weapons at ranges of up to 30 feet. You don't have to bother too much with it. Once you get this, you can enable it and it will automatically set the range. So keep that in mind, this will limit your character's range to 30 feet. So if you want your bow to hit further ahead, then you will have to disable this. It's going to be an active ability. A passive ability that you can activate. Point blank shot is extremely important, not only because it gives you +1 bonus in attack and damage rolls, but it is the feat requirement to take the next feat on the list, which is precise shot. This is a must-have for any ranged character. Without this, you are actively gimping your character, and it's a necessity to be useful in the game. What Precise Shot does is you can now shoot or throw ranged weapons at an opponent engaged in melee without taking the standard -4 penalty on your attack rolls. You might have noticed that if you do not have Precise Shot and your melee characters are attacking an opponent, then for whatever reason your ranged characters are getting a -4 penalty on their attacks. It is because they do not have Precise Shot. Getting this Precise Shot will make your archers, throwing weapon users, and even, as I said, your ranged touch attack characters more accurate. So this also applies to your mages using ray attacks. So definitely don't forget it for mages, such as Scorching Ray, Hellfire Ray, or again, any ranged touch attack. So make sure you use this for mages as well. How do you know if it's a ranged touch attack? Usually most spells that are single target and don't have spell resistance will be ranged touch attacks, but some of them have spell resistance anyway, will affect spell resistance anyway. But most single target damaging spells will be touch attacks, so this is important for them. What is next? Another very, very good ranged feat is Rapid Shot, especially in Wrath of the Righteous. What is Rapid Shot? When you're making a full attack with a ranged weapon, this means if you're attacking without moving, especially in turn-based, you can fire one additional time this round at your highest bonus. That means at your maximum base attack bonus, so like your first attack. All of your attack rolls take a -2 penalty when using this. Why is this so good? Because in Wrath of the Righteous, you can take Mythic Rapid Shot, which removes that -2 penalty. So you basically get a full attack, additional full attack with your ranged weapon. As you know, the more attacks you get in the game, the less accurate they are. And that is why this is so powerful, because it is a full attack at your maximum bonus. So it is a maximum full attack, additional full attack that you gain. And our last, but also important feat for ranged users I would recommend is Deadly Aim. There will be similar feats in other categories as well, but Deadly Aim is the damage increasing feat for ranged users. What does Deadly Aim do? You choose to take a -1 penalty on all ranged attack rolls, so your accuracy, to gain a +2 bonus on all ranged damage. when your base attack reaches +4 and every 4 after. For different characters, this will be different levels. Like Fighter gets a base attack bonus every level, or I think Bard only gets a 3/4 or something like that. So make sure that you check at class progression. You see the fists are your base attack bonus. So Fighter gets a fist on every level. Some classes only get 3 and then nothing. So the fists are your base attack bonuses. That's the base attack progression. You can check it. So at +4, you will get +4 thereafter. And the penalty also increases by 1. You must choose to use this feat before making an attack roll, and its effect lasts until your next turn. This bonus does not apply to touch attacks or effects that do not deal hit points damage. So this one does not apply to your ranged touch attacks, but it does apply to your throwing axes, your throwing weapons, and your bows. So it's another good damage increasing ability. And of course, it also has a mythic version that increases this damage bonus. That is it for now for our ranged characters. And next, we're going on with our melee frontline characters. Our first feat is none other than the fantastic teamwork feat, Outflank. Outflank requires another ally to have this, but whenever you and an ally who also has this feat are flanking the same creature, this means just attacking the same creature, you do not actually have to flank, like in pen and paper. Your flanking bonus on attack rolls increases to +4. So normally, if 2 melee characters attack the same target, they will get a +2 bonus. Outflank increases it to +4. In addition, whenever you score a critical hit against a flanked creature, it provokes an attack of opportunity from your ally. This means if one of you do a critical hit against the same creature, then the other person is going to get an additional attack that turn. So not only you will be hitting more accurately your enemy, but each time you critically hit them, your allies will gain a free attack. This is a must-have on almost every melee characters. You cannot miss this. Next one is Power Attack. Power Attack is specifically, it's similar to Deadly Aim on ranged characters, but it is your strength-based melee character damage increasing feat. What this does is very similar. It increases your damage on all melee damage rolls for the price of combat maneuver checks and attack rolls. This one is a little bit more complicated. The bonus to damage is increased by half if you are making an attack with two-handed weapons. So the bigger your weapon, the more powerful it is. This bonus is halved if you're making an attack with an offhand weapon. So if you're using with your wrong hand, obviously, you're supposed to be weaker, so it takes less bonuses there. When your base attack bonus reaches +4 and every 4 points thereafter, the penalty increases, but also the bonus increases. So this is very similar to Deadly Aim as well. So the higher level you are, the more this bonus increases as well. Of course, there are melee touch attacks as well, such as the Kinetic Knight's melee sword, or just Magus melee touch attack spells. This does not apply to that. Next one is Piranha Strike. Piranha Strike is similar to Power Attack, unfortunately not as strong. But Piranha Strike is the same, is very similar, so not exactly the same. It is very similar to Power Attack. I recommend reading the full of it. As far as I know, Piranha Strike does not give bonuses to two-handed weapons. It's mostly for light weapons. And even though with weapon finesse, like there are actually two-handed weapons such as Elven Curve Blade, but they do not get the two-handed bonus. But basically, Piranha Strike is the dexterity equivalent of Power Attack. So if you use dexterity weapons with like Camellia or even Volgiv, then Piranha Strike is the way to deal more damage. And speaking of a dexterity-based character, we are getting to Weapon Finesse. Weapon Finesse is the feat that you can use to change the modifier to be able to hit enemies more accurately to dexterity from strength. This one specifically with a light weapon, elven curved blade, S-stock, or rapier made for a creature of your size category. So you have to make sure that you're using a weapon that your character can use. Like a halfling shouldn't be using an oversized weapon. You may use your dexterity modifier instead of your strength modifier on attack rolls. This is why a lot of people don't like to take dexterity weapons, because it takes a little bit more feats to make use of them. Like for example, this turns strength modifier to attack rolls from dexterity, but you have to also use fencing grace or slashing grace to turn the damage bonus from strength to dexterity. So the more dexterity you have, the more damage you will do instead of strength. So to fully skill from dexterity, it takes multiple feats, but nonetheless it is a good option and it can be very good for some characters. That is the final feat for melee specifically, and you might have been wondering, but there are way more good feats, and I call this category the universal category. And the first one for that is weapon focus. Weapon focus is also a must-have for most characters, especially on normal and core difficulty and above. What weapon focus does is it gives you special focus on a weapon that you choose. This can be unarmed strike or even ray touch attacks for your casters. It can be your kinetic blasts even for your kineticists. It can be shields for shield bashing. It can be any weapon in the game. So keep in mind that if you're a kinetic knight, for example, then a kinetic blast is also your kinetic sword. Your sword counts as a blast. So this, or even for Pat's natural attacks, you can specialize on those weapons and they gain +1 bonus on their attack rolls using the selected weapon. Not only this is very useful, but if you're a warrior, then you also get greater weapon focus that will increase this even further. And it opens up many useful feats that further increase your accuracy or your damage with your chosen weapon. And with that said, we're actually getting to the next one, which is weapon specialization that you can take after you take weapon focus. Weapon specialization does not increase your accuracy, but rather it increases your bonus on all damage rolls you make using the selected weapon. So this gives you a flat bonus with your chosen weapon. It is very straightforward, and it also has a mythic version that that increases this damage by half of your mythic rank. There's also a mythic version for weapon focus that doubles the bonus you get. So if you have weapon focus, it increases to 2. If you have greater weapon focus from warrior as well, then it increases from 2 to 4. So fighters especially very well scale with this. What else do you get once you take in weapon focus? Well, let's see. Hopefully it is in the list. Improved critical, there it is. Improved critical is a feat that you can take after you've chosen a weapon. What improved critical does is every weapon, as far as we know, well, not as far as we know, every single weapon in the game has the ability to critically strike. And to understand how critical works is you roll a d20 dice, and most weapons have a critical range of 20, but some weapons can be 19 to 20 or 18 to 20. If you roll within this range, this critical range, then that means you are eligible for a critical strike. At this point, you confirm that you will hit the enemy, but to be able to actually do critical damage, you have to roll another d20 dice, and your final score added with your attack bonus modifier. If it is higher than the enemy's armor class, then you confirm the critical, and your critical modifier, which is 2 times or 3 times, will be added to your damage. So that's something that people don't always understand. Just rolling a 20 does not mean you will do a critical strike. You have to confirm your critical strike. Either way, what improved critical does is every weapon has a critical range, and improved critical doubles that threat range. So for 20, I think this means it will be on 19. If it's 18 to 20, it's going to be a 16 to 20. If I made a mistake here, feel free to fix me, please. but this improves your range on your weapons, and thus is very powerful if you want to go for critical characters, especially if you go trickster, and you can improve this threat even more. Next one is very good for all characters, which is Dazzling Display. Whereas Dazzling Display in itself is not that useful, it is definitely powerful. If your character is specialized around Persuasion, which in combat is Intimidation, then you gain an ability which is Dazzling Display. And let me turn down the volume on this music because it's getting a little bit too loud. Dazzling Display, if you use it, it's a full turn ability. It can intimidate enemies. If they fail the intimidation check, they will get shaken and they will be demoralized, and they will get a -2 penalty to their attack rolls. And it will be easier to fight against them. But why is this important? Dazzling Display in itself is not that powerful, but every enemy that is under the Shaken effect does enable you to use a feat, which comes after Dazzling Display, which is Shatter Defenses. What Shatter Defenses does is any shaken, frightened, or panicked opponent hit by you this round is flat-footed to your attacks until the end of your next turn. Why is this so powerful? That is because flat-footed removes all dexterity bonuses from the enemy, and most enemies, especially demons, have a lot of dexterity bonus. So if you find yourself against enemies that have ridiculously high armor class and you just can't hit them, Shatter Defenses, along with these frightening effects on them through Dazzling Display, can allow your characters to be able to hit these enemies. If you watch my other guides, then you do know that there is a spell of level 8, which is called Frightful Aspect, which can be cast on various characters. If you use Frightful Aspect, you will 100% shaken any enemy that is able to be shaken, that is eligible to be shaken. So Shatter Defenses with that combined can be absolutely obliterating against the enemy. So a very good combo. Additionally, and a very underappreciated, but I think a very good feat is Improved Initiative. As you know, when the fights start, we all roll an initiative, whether you are in turn-based or you are in real-time with pause, and whoever rolls the highest will be able to act first. Whereas a lot of people underappreciate this, but it is very important, especially because until you do something for the first time, all your characters are flat-footed, and as I just mentioned earlier, you lose massive bonuses during that time, most of your dodge bonuses and dexterity bonuses to your character. But also simply you allow the enemy to first strike at you, and you might not be able to use a spell that could change the flow of combat, or you could just kill a mage before they can even do anything. So Improved Initiative, in my opinion, can be very powerful, and it can be the difference between winning a battle in 1 second or potentially struggling for many minutes or even hours if you get stuck in a boss. Another very specialized feat, and the final feat in this category that I wanted to show, is two-weapon fighting. Why did I not categorize two-weapon fighting in melee? That is because now we can also use two-weapon fighting for ranged characters. Why is two-weapon fighting important? Because whether you are melee or using double throwing axes or any ranged weapon, if you have a weapon in your offhand, it takes a -10 penalty to its attack, and you will never hit with those weapons, or you will have a very bad time attacking. What two-weapon fighting does is it decreases those penalties on your dual-wielding characters to more reasonable numbers, and your character will be able to hit more accurately. Additionally, two-weapon fighting opens up multiple feats that will improve your accuracy even more, especially with two-weapon fighting Mythic, which reduces these penalties even more. Or you can gain additional attacks, even though at penalties to dual-wielding weapons. If you watched my dual-wielding Throwing Axe Monk build, then that character takes advantage of this very well, and is becoming a monster of a character by late game. And that is for our martial characters for now. We are proceeding into our magic feats that I recommend for most spellcasters. Most importantly, we are going to be starting with Spell Focus. Spell Focus is one of the most standard magical feats that you can take. What it does is it increases the difficulty class for all saving throws against the spells from the school you select. This is especially important for CC spells or even damaging spells. So if your Grease has a difficulty class of 16 and you know the enemy has to roll lower than that to be prone, then if you choose Spell Focus to Conjuration, then that 17 will be increased to 18. And if you take Greater Spell Focus, then you get another one, which is going to be 19, and is going to massively increase your chances of CCing the enemy. Why did I say this is also good for damaging spells? That is because if you cast a Fireball, you know that Fireball will always do damage, but the enemy has to do a Reflex saving throw. If they succeed the Reflex saving throw, they only take half damage from your Fireball. So this is also very focused for very good for evocation spells, and to make sure that you do as much damage as possible. Additionally, you can also use this for conjuration to conjure and summon monsters, and that is very important because conjuration spell focus enables you to take feats such as augment summoning that will increase the stats of your summons. So keep that in mind. The next feat for spellcasters is Spell Specialization. Spell Specialization is one of my favorite spells with them, especially if you know exactly what your caster wants to do or what spells you want to use. You can choose one spell every single level. This is the same spell, so you don't get additional spells. You can choose one spell, and whenever your caster uses that spell, they will be increasing that spell's level by 2 and all of its variables as well. This makes fireballs be stronger or even give more difficulty class to your CC abilities. So keep that in mind. Every single time you level up, you can change what this spell should be, but it is a very powerful spell. It's a very powerful feat to make sure that your casters will be useful at all times. Another spell that in Wrath of the Righteous especially is a must-have for every single caster, which is Spell Penetration. The game for a lot of classes will say it's not recommended, but almost all spellcasters should have Spell Penetration, including Kineticists. As much as you can choose a physical kinetic blast, if you're using fire, cold, electricity, for your kinetic blast, you will need Spell Penetration, despite the game not recommending it. Almost every enemy in the game will have ridiculous amount of spell resistance, so you will need all the Spell Penetration that you can get. From this, you can of course take Greater Spell Penetration and even Spell Penetration Mythic to be able to increase this penetration. If you're an elf, you also have a racial ability for that. And there are also items that can help you to increase the spell penetration further. But this is very important, or otherwise lots of your offensive abilities will just not hit the enemy and you don't even have a chance to do anything. The last feat for magic users that I would recommend are the meta magic spells. And I understand a lot of people are afraid of using them. They can get quite complicated, and to be fair, I won't go too deep into them because it could be a completely different video, and if you want, I can make a meta magic guide in the future, so let me know that in comment sections. But meta magic feats are extremely good for casters. All of them are very useful. Bolster can increase your raise spells massively. Empower can increase the level and all numeric effects of your spells. Heighten can increase the difficulty class for your CC spells. Persistent spell can make it so that the enemy has to roll twice, whether or not they're gonna save against the spell. Reach can increase the range of your healing spells from touch into ranged. Selective spell can make it so that your fireballs will only hit the enemy, and they're really useful, and it's worth tinkering around, and as I always say, it's worth experimenting around. So those are the feats I recommend for mages especially. These are all must-haves and you will take in most mage characters. Let's go into defensive feats for all characters. The first feat is the most obvious and possibly most popular choice is Dodge. where in itself, I don't think dodge is a very good feat, and people overvalue it. I think it's only worth taking dodge if you're specifically going for the feats that it opens up, namely the very popular monk feats, which is crane style, crane riposte, and crane wing. Dodge in itself only gives you one armor class, and while it can make a little bit of a difference, one armor class, when you think that you can take much better defenses or even offensive choices, it's not that useful. But if you're not using a shield, you have an offhand free, then or you use defensive style a lot, then taking dodge along with crane style, crane riposte, and crane wing can be pretty useful. But taking dodge just to take it and then dodge mythic, in my opinion, can be a waste. But again, it is the most straightforward armor class increase that most people use. The next one on the list would be toughness. Toughness in itself is not very impressive, but I like to take it because it does increase your health. As you can read it, it does give you very little bit of amount of health, but it is just enough, I think, to make some characters stronger. And in my opinion, while in late game this doesn't matter that much, at the beginning of the game when you have 10 to 20 health, this can really make the difference. Toughness can really make the difference of dying or surviving a battle, and I like to take it at least on very squishy characters to make sure that they don't get one-shotted and they have a chance to survive in just unexpected circumstances. Going on, another two categories of feats which are not necessarily worth it, but if you really want to squish out all the little armor class for Oreo characters, then armor focus can be very useful. Depending on what armor type you choose, you will get +1 armor class from that. So heavy armor, light armor, medium armor. Keep this in mind, this does not stack. None of this applies to mage armor, so this is specifically for wearing armor items. Very similar to armor focus, you also have shield focus. Now shield focus is actually a little bit more useful. It does increase the armor class from all shields, so here you don't have to choose a category. But why this is so much better is because it allows you to have mounted shield for mounted characters, which means if your rider is using a shield, that shield bonus will also be applied to your mount. So let's say if you're wearing a 7 tower shield that is increased to an 8 with shield focus, then that +8 armor class will be added to your mount. So that can greatly increase the survivability of your horse or any mount that you are riding. The next feat is probably my favorite feat, and I have this on every single playthrough and every single character, and I take it as soon as I can on every character, which is Shake It Off. Shake It Off is super useful. When you're adjacent to one or more allies who have this feat, you gain a +1 bonus on your saving throws per such ally to a maximum of 4. If all your 6 characters have this, then all of them gain +4 a saving throw to a +4 bonus to all of their saving throws. And with this game having so many annoying saving throws and abilities, especially from Vescivores or rocks, this is in my opinion a must-have, and it's just a really important teamwork feat. I can't recommend it enough. The next one is situational, but I really like it, which is back to back. It is another teamwork feat, especially for your frontliners. While you're flanked and adjacent to an ally with this feat, you receive a +2 circumstance bonus to armor class against attacks from opponents flanking you. What does this mean? A lot of people recommend not using this, but in my opinion, it's very powerful. What it does is, if there are more than one enemies attacking you, just like you can flank them, they can flank you, then you get a +2 bonus against them. So it practically removes the flanking bonus against you. So they get a +2, but you also gain a +2 AC, and they are basically not able to flank you. A lot of people don't recommend this because it's not good against bosses, but in my opinion, most of the toughest fights in the game are actually trash mobs and just random fights in the game that you fight, and being overwhelmed can be very, very difficult. Additionally, the game does have a ring that increases this +2 to a +4, which is a +2 AC to your characters, and it is making back-to-back even more valuable. The next 3 feats, I would categorize them, are our saving throw feats. If you don't know what to take, they are always very good choices. When you already have your character fully built, these are 3 fantastic choices. Or even if your character is lacking saving throws in a category, then Great Fortitude for Fortitude saving throws, Iron Will or Lightning Reflexes for reflex or will saving throws will increase your chances of resisting those magics. And you can take, of course, improved version of it and also the mythic versions of them. And you can get a +4 bonus on them. And additionally, with mythic, you can roll twice. And it just really, really increases your chances of surviving those spells cast against you. And they can be very good defensive options. Those are the defensive options, at least I would recommend for everyone. And we're coming close to our final category, which is the class-specific feats. For this part, my first and foremost most important feat is selective channel. Selective channel is for clerics or any character that is able to channel energy. A lot of people don't know this feat exists. What it does is when you're channeling positive energy, you can select that it only works on the characters that you want to use. So you will only be healing your own characters, or you will only be damaging undead, and you're not going to be damaging your characters as well. So selective channel makes your channels basically selective, and they will only do what you actually want to do with them, and you're not going to be affecting your allies, or you're not going to be affecting the enemies when you don't want them. This is very important, and a lot of people don't like to use clerics because they don't know this one exists. Another very good class-specific feat is Lingering Performance for bards. While I don't like how this works, but what Lingering Performance does is the bonuses and penalties from your bardic performance continue for 2 rounds, that means 12 seconds, after you cease performing. Any other requirement, such as range or specific conditions, must still be met for the effect to continue. If you begin a new bardic performance during this time, the effect of the previous performance immediately ceases. As you can see, this increases your bardic performance from 1 round to 3 rounds. So why is this very annoying to use? Because you have to enable and disable your bardic performance in the same round to make use of this. So this requires you to micro your character. It does not automatically apply, so you have to enable it, then you have to disable it immediately, and then 3 rounds later you have to enable it and disable it again. So you have to manually control this. But it does make your bards have a lot more lingering performance, and they're just going to be much more useful. For now, that is all the feats I personally wanted to conclude in this video. If you think I have missed anything, of course, there are lots of feats that are very useful, but these are, I think, the feats that are most core to the game, and you will be seeing them the most throughout the game and almost every playthrough. And I hope it helped them. I hope they help you enjoy the game more and know what to do with your characters when you're stuck or when you just don't know what feat to take. If you think that I should have applied more feats to this video or I missed something, of course, feel free to add them to the comment section. This was really just for some beginning information and some basics. And there are so many great and fantastic feats in the game, especially advanced feats that will make your characters even better. But these are some feats that at least you can start out with. I hope it was very useful. If you would like to see more beginner videos, then also let me know in the comment section. Or if you would like to see more builds or advanced videos for the game, then also let me know that. Thank you so much for the support, of course. I really appreciate it, and I will do my best to give you more videos. I also stream on Twitch every single day, so you can check it. You can check my streams there, and if you have any questions, let me know. But for this video, I specifically also prepared a list of feats that I have talked about, and I hope they will help you. Everything is here. There might be a typos here and there. Excuse me about that. But feel free to use this list, and I hope they're going to help you in making your characters better. So let me know if you think I missed anything or I should add something more to it, and just let me know what kind of videos you would like to see in the future. Thank you very much. I hope this helped you, and hope to see you on the live stream. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.